Storm Environmental Awareness Project, the NSEA or NC, and our speaker today is David Hotz, who is the lead of this project, but you can see from the title slide that there is a cast of many from multiple regions and Storm Prediction Center involved with this project. Per usual, we will have about 30 minutes or so of content provided by Dave and his team, and then we'll follow it up with a Q&A session. And a reminder that the VLab forums are recorded, and we will upload the recording of this to the VLab forum website at the conclusion of this session. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Dave. Go ahead, Dave.
All right, well, thank you. Thanks very much. Again, I apologize for not being ready, but well, thanks for the opportunity to show the project that we're working on. It is the Near Storm Environment Awareness Project, and I'm the fortunate person to be the lead of the project, but I do have a really great team that I really want to talk about. For one is Aaron Anderson. I know Aaron's on the call, and he is one of our main developers. I'll be kind of talking about the application he's been developing, but there's also several people have been doing a lot of work on this project, so I definitely want to recognize them. It's been a really great team. Now just kind of moving on to the presentation objectives. One thing I want to do is just kind of talk about an overview of the NSEA project, and also talk about the background and history, how this project kind of got started. It's really been a kind of a long duration. Actually started back in 2010, really. But we'll kind of talk about the history of this project. Kind of the main part of this presentation is really talking about the applications. And then later on this spring, in May and June, we'll be doing an OPG demonstration. So we'll kind of briefly talk about that as well, and kind of the future of really the Near Storm Environment Project, or really when it comes to try to make these applications even better in the future. So let's go ahead and move forward. Okay, kind of the background and history of the NSEA. It really, again, kind of started back in 2010, really from 2010, 2015. It really kind of started as a Application 1, AWIS Application 1 project. It was called the Storm Monitor Analysis Program, and the main developers was Jason Shaman. He's a senior forecaster at Springfield, Missouri, and myself. So we had this application for many years in AWIS 1 era, but we realized when we came to AWIS 2 that a lot of the background was going to change. And another thing too, we really wanted to have to move this project forward, have really strong scientific integrity. So we realized we needed to bring additional people into this project to really move this thing forward. So back in 2015, we put together the NSEA project, and we had the opportunity to bring in additional people for like Aaron Anderson there at ITO at Norman, but several other people, kind of a multi-regional team to try to move this project forward into AWIS 2. And then in 2016, we had the opportunity to make this a national STI project. So that kind of gives you a kind of a background of this project in the past. The project goals really is really for two applications. One is the NSEA application. Another one is the NSEA digital cursor readouts, and we'll be talking a lot about those here in a little bit. But really the purpose of these two applications is to increase situational awareness of the environment, specifically to improve warning performance and our IDSS support to our customers. And really when it comes down to looking at different events across the Weather Service, and when they do reports on these events, one thing they always stated is that really having increased situational awareness of the environment is really crucial to improve performance. So that's really kind of the project goals and the purpose. Really the intended users is the warning teams, such as the radio operators, the mesoanalyst, the enhanced short-term forecasters. So those are really kind of the intended users at the WFO level who could utilize these different applications that we're working on. And just to really kind of follow up, later on, if you have some more questions about exactly what is our project, what are we working on, we do have a VLab page. It's the NSEA project on the VLab page. And we also do have a Redmine page. So if you have further questions, it would be two really good places to go. Okay, so let's kind of talk about the first application, and this is the NSEA application. It's a local application. It's being developed. The developer is Aaron Anderson. He's done an outstanding job moving this thing forward, and really, it's really gone a lot farther than I thought was really possible. This project utilizes the SharpEye code, which allows you to manipulate SQT and sounding data. It's just a really nice interface into this project. There's really three main sections of the NSEA application, and the first one is kind of the map and also the dashboard that you see in number 1. And I'll just we'll talk more about this in a little bit, but that's kind of the first part of the application. It's more of a situational awareness, keeping the forecasters aware of the latest storm environment. The number 2 is the time series, and how that works is if you click on any of the stations within the map, you can get a time series of all the different parameters that we have in the application. And again, we'll kind of talk more about that here in a little bit, but it's just another neat part of the application. And then number 3, again, if you click on any of the different station tabs within the application, you can also get the SharpEye code that displays both the SQT and hodograph. So it's really a great way for the kind of the mesoanalyst to kind of keep up with the latest of the different severe weather parameters across this area, and not just keep up awareness, but also be able to manipulate the information as well. So let's take a kind of a closer look at exactly what we're looking at here. Okay, again, this is the developer is Aaron Anderson. He's the ITO Norman, and so if there's any specific questions about the development of the application, I'll definitely let Aaron talk about that. But the first part of the application is the overview, which is on the left side, and you can see there's a lot of different parameters. It initially kind of starts out as shear, instability, and indice parameters. And how this works, it's kind of a drill down. So you start from the left, and you can go to the right side, and you can look at the different values. Now, it's all color-coded depending on the thresholds that you set. So if you have something, this, for example, your 0 to 1 kilometer shear, the highest value in our area is 44 meters squared per second squared. You can see that this is well over our values that we have for 0 to 1 kilometer shear. So you can take that, and if you move your cursor on top of the 0 to 1 kilometer shear, then it'll display all those values within your map. And in this example, we're looking at precipitable water. Another part of this, again, also is the map. And if you hover over on top of the different stations and double click on it, that's when you can bring up the time series, and you can also bring up the SharpEye code that shows the hodographs and SQTs. So, and the map itself, you can zoom into the map, you can zoom out, and it's really, Aaron's kind of really got this set up so it's really easy to set up the different stations within your CWA, and not just in your CWA, but also your surrounding CW areas. So that way you can really see how these parameters are changing as you go through time. And this application, you can utilize RAP data. You can also utilize LAPS data. Eventually, once the HER model becomes more robust in the vertical profile, hopefully we can also use the HER model as well. But those are the different things we can look at from this part of the interface. Now, since we had this application running, we've had several severe weather events, at least across our area, that I had a chance to kind of utilize. And this is a kind of an event we had. It was a large hail event. You can tell the size of the hail, line size. You don't see that line size too often, but definitely a big hail event day. We also had some damaging winds, and these are the kind of stuff that we saw. You can see, looking at kind of the hail capes, also the shear parameter and the different parameters. You can see that the values are very, very high and very favorable for large hail that day. You can also look at the parameters and look at downdraft cape, look at the DCP, the durational composite parameter, and you can also tell those are going to be very high, showing very high values for a wind event. So the neat thing about this is when say a enhanced short-term forecaster, a mesoanalyst, is working this event, this application really just almost screams at the forecaster and says, look at this area. These are your areas that you really need to kind of pay attention to. And then you can watch as this system, as this severe weather event evolves, as it moves across your area. So just a great situation awareness tool. Here's another example of a tornado event that we had across our area. The parameter that we're seeing right here is a significant tornado parameter, and you can definitely see what areas within your CWA definitely have a better chance of seeing potential of tornadoes. And really, if you look across the higher values, this kind of the triangle there definitely shows you where the tornado is located at. We could definitely see that's where area that you had to be kind of heightened alert for tornado development. All right, this is I want to show you kind of an example of the time series. Again, what you'll do is you'll double click on one of the stations. And this example, the station that we double clicked on was a station, it's called K417. It's across southwest North Carolina. But what you can do with this, you can be able to look at the different parameters and kind of drill in closer. You can see the solid line shows like the first hour or two of the past RAP 13 for the 0 to 1 kilometer shear, and the dashed line shows you what the RAP is showing for the next couple of hours for that parameter. So just another neat way for the forecasters to look at all the different parameters and see how they're going to change through the next couple of hours. And the different lines that you see are color-coded depending on the thresholds that you set for that day. And the thresholds can be changed if the forecast office wants to change the parameters for that day, maybe due to the environmental conditions, they can do that. Okay, another aspect again is the sharp eye, is the skew T and hodograph. Again, if you click on one of the stations, then you'll be able to bring up the actual skew T and hodograph for that region. And Aaron has got it set up so it is used in the sharp eye code, so you can manipulate the soundings as well. So if you change the sounding, it will change the parameters, like for Cape. So you can do some manipulating. And the neat thing about that is, let's just say if you had a storm that's moving across your area, and maybe the initial shear values, velocities is maybe not so good, but if it becomes a right mover, you can make those changes on this hodograph and see what type of changes you have for the tornado potential. So that's a neat thing about having the sharp eye code there. Okay, now we're going to kind of move on. That was the NSEA application. Now we're going to kind of look at the NSEA digital cursor readout. And this was developed by Jason Schauman, Mike Sutton, as well as Aaron Anderson. And what this is, it allows you to look at different severe weather parameters on top of your radar. So if you move the cursor around, and what they've done is set up predefined parameter bundles. So you have a parameter bundles for pulse severe, hail, supercell, flooding, and you can utilize RAP data, LAFS, and HER-based families. So let me just kind of show you some examples. Okay, this is a hail bundle example, and again, you can move your cursor around, and just kind of blow this thing up a little bit. You can move your cursor around to that storm, and you'll be able to see a lot of the different hail parameters that the radar operator really could utilize in regard to putting out warnings and also situational awareness of that environment. For example, here, the forecaster could look at the 50 dBz heights for severe hail, the -30, -20 height for large hail. So a lot of these things they can look at. Also the hail cape. So there's a lot of different things that the forecaster can review by moving the cursor around to the different storms. This is an example of a QLCS environment that we have. In this example, the bundle has kind of the theta E difference, kind of shows you the potential of downburst cape. Also has bulk shear, so a lot of different parameters the forecaster can utilize. Here's the example for a supercell. Again, the program or the radar operator can move the cursor around and look at that storm. In this case here, you can look at STP, significant tornado parameter values, EHIs. So there's a lot of different things, again, the radar operator can look at. Just kind of a closer view. And here's another example. This is, at this time here, the radar operator issued the warning, giving the radar structure and the environment. And by this time right here, there's actually a tornado being reported with that storm. So it just kind of shows you kind of a live situation and how the bundles were used. And the Sioux there at New Orleans had a chance to utilize these bundles during their New Orleans tornadoes that they had about a month or two ago. And they really had some really good success utilizing this on top of the radar. And you can kind of read it yourself, but they really like the fact that they'll look at tornado type indices or parameters right on top of your radar. Okay, when it comes to like the different applications and kind of bringing this together for a WFO scenario, let's just say the person on top there, he's the radar operator. I'm sorry, the person on the bottom is the radar operator. He can utilize the NSEA cursor readout bundle, so he's kind of maintained situational awareness. And the person on top, he's the short-term forecaster, the meso analyst. So he has a lot of forecasts, a lot of responsibilities. So he's able to use the NSEA tool application to kind of keep up with the near-storm environment. So the end result is the whole team itself, the WFO team, has increased situational awareness. Okay, so that kind of talks about the different applications. Now I'm going to kind of talk more about gearing towards the OPG and exactly what we're doing with the Operation Proving Ground at this time. Here a couple of weeks ago, we did have a chance to send 3 of our team members to the OPG. It was kind of a pre-evaluation just to make certain that our team is ready for the upcoming OPG evaluations. But now, after that, we're continuing to have bi-weekly coordination calls with OPG just to make sure we're ready for the evaluation. There's going to be 4 different weeks. We're going to be bringing forecasters into the OPG. During each one of those weeks, we will have a subject matter expert from our team that's going to kind of help to help facilitate the OPG evaluations, and also to help to train the different forecasters with the different applications. The reasoning for the OPG evaluation is really for a couple of different things. One is to really kind of demonstrate and evaluate the different applications and try to get some feedback and maybe how to improve those applications. But another thing too is workload issues. When you bring applications like we have developed, obviously workload is going to be an issue. So we're going to evaluate what's the best way to use these applications and when it comes to workload issues. Another thing too is to evaluate these applications along with other near-storm environment tools, for example, like GOES-R, and also the Prop Severe. So we're going to utilize a lot of different things together and see what the forecasters, what kind of feedback we get from them. Kind of the final goal that we have is for the digital readout cursor baseline is get those things baselined into AOS2 is to get that approval. Really for the NSEA application, we really want to kind of maintain it's more of a VLab local application. And the reason for that is we just really feel like we can kind of move this project forward probably faster if we kind of keep it as a VLab. So that's kind of our different goals when it comes to after the OPG. Okay, kind of the last thing I want to discuss is really the future of near storm environment awareness. And one of the limitations, one of the big limitations we have is obviously our temporal limitation. Because currently we're only getting like the RAP and the LAPS, and also for the HER model itself, it's only being updated every hour. So to really make this, to really move us forward in a big step is to make the temporal resolution of these different models. It'd be great if they went to 15 minutes. Either that, or I know they're developing their RUA, maybe up to around 15 minutes. So if we get some better, higher temporal resolution, the better it's going to be for analysis of the NSEA. So that's the kind of stuff we're looking for the future. Okay, John, that's pretty much all I really have for the presentation. I can definitely take whatever questions that people might have.
Okay, thanks, Dave. This is Steve Smith. I really appreciate you know, your efforts and rolling up your sleeve and then establishing a team, maintaining a team, and going to the effort to use the new tools that the Office of Science and Technology Integration have provided to improve the R2O process in Weather Service, the VLab and the OPG. These are all sort of foundational pieces that Dr. Uccellini envisioned that we would use to try to get in a better position as an agency, starting with better transparency about what's going on in local development and national development. So, you know, you and your team are to be applauded for doing exactly that. You know, you guys had a great idea, and you wanted to share it, and you've availed yourself of these tools. And I think, you know, we're really getting a chance to benefit from this. So I know it takes a tremendous amount of patience sometimes to sort of do the right thing. But you know, I think in the end it serves us all better if we try to do that. So you know, yeah. So again, you know, kudos to you and for especially for being a role model, if nothing else.
Well,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Honestly, I really appreciate that, but I'll definitely have to say that I have to throw it back into my team because the project's only as good as the team, and I've had very fortunate to have a very innovative, hardworking, and really, when it comes to programmers like Aaron Anderson, these guys have tons of talent, and I wish I could take Aaron, a lot of developers, and create additional ones, but yeah, I appreciate that, and I really appreciate the support that we have with the team.
Okay, great. So at this point, if people have questions for Dave and the team, please use the raise your hand feature of the GoToWebinar, and John Chattel can unmute you so you can ask the question directly to Dave, or you can also use the chat feature to type in a question. John, do we have?
Yes, Matthew Bunkers would like to ask a question. I unmuted him.
Go ahead, Matt.
Okay, nice job, Dave. I just had one question. When you were showing those bundles, you showed the Hail bundle, and I wasn't sure if the values were with respect to MSL or AGL, because I know the cursor readout gives both, but I think it might be a little bit before this.
Yeah, let's see here. Okay. Is that the one you're looking at there, Matt?
Yeah, that's correct. So it's giving those various heights, but it doesn't reference MSL or AGL. So I'm just curious if there's a way to label that so we know which one on the bottom, to compare to.
Okay, that's a really good suggestion. That's good feedback. Jason Schauman's been really the main developer of this, and I'll pass that on to him. But I'm pretty certain it is AGL. But I'll definitely pass it on to him because the forecasters, when they're utilizing it, definitely need to know which one it is.
Yeah, I know it's maybe not as maybe a big a concern down in your area, but where we have the Black Hills here, you have 6,000 feet, so it can be a pretty big deal. So thanks.
Well, yeah, that's good feedback, Matt. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Matt. Another question, John.
That's all we have at the moment.
Okay, so Dave, I've got a follow-up for you. So a clarification. So this is a local application in AWIPS currently, or the two tools. And so if a particular office wants to install this local application, how would they get to it? Would they go to the VLab community, or they go to the Redmine project? How would they actually, find the software and be able to install it?
Okay. When it comes to digital readout cursor, definitely go ahead and go to the Redmine. That application is definitely matured enough. I think that you could download it. Now, when it comes to NSEA application that Aaron's working on, and Aaron, feel free to speak up. I would hold off on that because that application, it's a great application, but it's one of these applications that it's so powerful and what it can do, but it's also in the process of continuous development. And so I would hold off on that application for right now.
Yeah,
go ahead, Aaron.
Sorry. Yeah, just to kind of follow on what David said, yeah, the cursor readouts, that's, like you said, they're pretty much immature. The application itself, we still kind of consider that in more of a beta phase, where basically the offices on our team are testing it out, and then we're taking it to the OPG. But all of it is housed on the Redmine site. We use the Git repo on the Redmine site to manage it and everything like that, and that's where you download and install it from the Git repo on the VLab site.
So an ITO and WFO would know how to do that and could get going, hit the ground running pretty quickly?
Yeah, and we have on our wiki on our Redmine site installation and update instructions for it.
Very good. All right. Thanks for clarifying that. Go ahead.
I want to say there's also when it comes to the bundles that Jason developed, there's some really good job sheets that's been put together to know how to utilize them. So that's on there as well. And I know we're also in the process of developing job sheets for the NSEA application as well.
Okay, very good. So another question I have for Dave, you or Aaron or anyone else on your team is more philosophical in nature. So, we in the past, in the MDL anyway, we've worked with different types of similar kind of applications and tools designed to improve decision-making and warning decisions for severe storms and tornadic storms, and such as SCAN, or there was an NSSL's WDSS application. And the feedback back in the day on those types of things were along the lines of, well, you know, it's better to do just straight radar analysis, and if you're and I'm being a bit tongue-in-cheek here, and if you're, you know, you're good at all in doing this, then you know, you don't need to rely on any kind of training wheels like having SCAN or these applications. You should be able to look at the raw radar data and issue a tornado warning. So we got a lot of pushback on that. That, you know, it was like these are tools for dummies, you know, and they get in the way. They're not helpful. They take up screen real estate, etc. Too many colors, too many alerts, etc. So I mean, I kind of, from that experience, it felt like, you know, things, if you boil down to the essence of tornado decision making, sometimes it's like each individual forecaster goes with what they're comfortable with, and they make a decision looking at the same sort of data every time that they're sitting, you know, at the desk and doing that critical mission function. And introducing something new was not easy, because people, when they're comfortable, especially with an important decision like that, they don't necessarily want anything new. They're sort of happy with how they make their decisions now. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on those types of issues.
I think you bring up a really great point, and I'm going to kind of hit it in different ways. Being a science and operations officer, you go into, I work with a lot of different forecasters, and you have a different array of what people want to look at. And when it comes to looking at the near storm environment, you're going to have forecasters that really like to maintain strongly, you know, the latest environment of the event, and that's where these applications are going to be very powerful. Now, one thing you have to remember is, now SCAN is utilized for radar when looking at radar products. It does not necessarily, maybe it's only like one or two parameters you have in there that even looks at the environment. These applications look at the environment, and so that there is a big difference between what SCAN does and what this application does. And talking with WDTD, I was talking to Brad Grant, as a matter of fact, just last week, giving this presentation. One of the things that he has found out when he has his students come in for the RAC, and when he has talks with people that go through the different severe weather walk courses, is that one of the biggest shortfalls that he is finding out is the near storm environment. Is that people do not have a good clue in maintaining the near storm environment, and that's one of the reasons why it really spurred myself and Jason 7 years ago is to get something out there that really gets this information not just on a map, but it kind of just screams at them. I mean, it has these different colors that really alerts them what's going on. And hopefully, I think these applications that are being developed will be able to fill that shortfall. But you know, you're going to have some forecasters are not as aggressive when it comes to trying to keep up with this stuff. So you know, some of the forecasters won't use it, and I know some of the forecasters in my office won't use it. But I think there is a big shortfall in regard to maintaining the near storm environment, and that has been proven by our training center. And I really do believe the applications that have been developed will be able to fill those gaps.
Okay, thanks very much, Dave. Appreciate that thoughtful response. John, do we have?
Yeah, Matt Bunkers has another question.
Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, it's not a question, just to follow up on what Dave said. And for example, we look at the SBC mesoanalysis page for certain things, and that's on a website. And so some of the stuff what Dave is doing, he's bringing that directly into AWIP. So for example, here, it's giving you readouts of the 50 dBz height, and it's letting you know what, how you can compare that to, for example, the Donovan study. So it's bringing some of that stuff into AWIPS in a way that makes it more efficient. And the tornado one, was showing the significant tornado parameters. So you don't have to go to a website, look at it, and then go back, look at the radar. This is making things easier. And you're still looking at the raw radar data, but you're pulling the environmental information in a way that it's just efficient. So that's all I had to say.
Very good. Great. Good. Yeah, thanks. Great point. Other questions? Oh, Dennis. Dennis Miller here in the room. Go ahead, Dennis.
Hi. My question is, for determining these severe weather parameters like CAPE and STP, are you using only model-derived fields, or are you using some observed fields?
This is all model-derived fields currently. We had a great discussion about using observations, and really initially the stormwater analysis program did use observations, even special observations that were coming out throughout the hour. But we, as a group and as a team, we really thought that really wasn't the scientifically way to go. So right now we're just utilizing the different like the RAP model, the LAPS or the HER model to make these calculations.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And I kind of let me just expand a little bit on what was talked about when it comes to observations. One of the reasons why we decided not to bring in observations is because if you only update the surface and not try to do the whole vertical profile, we might end up giving kind of false information. So we really didn't want to do that. And again, it also kind of goes back to trying to maintain scientific integrity and everything that we're trying to do here. So that's the reason why we didn't do the observations.
Well, these models, I'm not familiar with this detail. How often do they assimilate new observed data?
The actual models?
Yeah.
I believe it's once an hour, but I'm not really, when it comes to exactly how often these different models assimilate observations, I'm not really totally up on that. But I do believe it's once an hour. Aaron, do you have any thoughts about that?
I think you're right, but yeah, I'm not positive either.
Could you repeat the models that are the basis of this again?
Sure. When it comes to the NSEA application, the two models is going to be the RAP and the LAPS, and then when it comes to the digital cursor readout, it's going to be the RAP, LAPS, and the HER model. Now you might ask me, well, why don't we use the HER model for the NSEA application? And the reason for that, and Aaron, feel free to jump in there if I don't say right, but we don't have, the HER model doesn't have a complete vertical profile. So it's hard for us to make all those calculations that we need to make. And that's the reason why we currently don't use the HER model.
Yeah, it's Aaron. Just to kind of clarify on the HER, it's, the HER does have the profiles. The problem is not every level is transmitted across the SBN. Okay. So we don't have that raw data available within AWIPS2 to be able to pull out and create these profiles and make those calculations. You only get a certain subsection of the levels across the SBN.
Right, and this is Steve Smith, and I believe that comparing the RAP with the HER, you're going to get the RAP sooner. So there's a lag in the transmission of the HER that, in terms of timeliness, especially for severe storm operations, you're going to want the most timely input. So the RAP is probably your best choice for that.
Yeah.
I got another question here. So in terms of, so I'm completely on board, Dave, with the near storm environment being a underutilized aspect of severe weather operations. And so I'm all for what you're doing in that regard. But one of the questions I got is, you know, when we look at our legacy metrics in Weather Service, and you can criticize them, and I'm talking about, you know, PODs, lead time, FAR, CSI, that sort of thing. What you find generally is that, you know, most offices POD is pretty good. You know, it's hard to improve on POD a lot, but where's a big difference from office to office is in the false alarm ratio. So some offices are more discriminating in issuing tornado warnings, for example, and if they're good at it, they have a much better CSI compared to other offices. And if you look at like the 2011 Tuscaloosa and the Joplin events, there's some evidence that high FAR, it leads to complacency in the community, and people may not pay attention because they're basically getting overwarned. So my question, I guess, to you is, like, do you see that the NSEA tool is providing information that could help offices lower their FAR?
I think these applications will really bring to light, you know, the latest near storm environment across your area. Now, is it going to include, you know, decrease the FAR? I mean, I don't have metrics for that. I will say that I'm going to differ and the thing that you said about the POD. You know, talking with the WDTD, you know, talk with Brad Grant, and it's not like that we have our POD is where it should be. There's still a lot of improvements in regard to our POD. I agree with you. Probably FAR is probably where maybe the most buck is going to be, bang for the buck. But you know, these applications themselves are set for, you know, primarily just to make certain that the forecasters have more awareness of what's going on around that storm. And I really truly believe that these applications will be able to help the forecasters make better decisions in regard to that storm and what the potential is for that storm. Now, how's it going to do with the FAR numbers and the POD numbers? You know, I really do not know.
Yeah,
that's fair. Go ahead, Aaron.
That, like I said, yeah, I don't think he really has any kind of metrics or things that we know. Speaking kind of from, you know, how I see things work here at Norman, I know one of the things, you know, we utilize a lot in warning operations is just, you know, what is the environment like? That's one of the things that forecasters will use, you know, when they're making that, you know, decision on whether or not to warn. So I think having tools like this, that they're going to, you know, be able to kind of tell, okay, well, the tornado potential is maybe a little bit higher in this area, a little bit lower in this area, you know, et cetera, that then when they get down to the actual radar interrogation and looking at that, kind of knowing where that's at, it might give them a better level of confidence, you know, kind of what they're seeing, or may make them think twice and say, you know what, I may need a little bit more information, because with this kind of environment, maybe this isn't quite a tornado, or this isn't quite severe hail, or things like that. So I think it adds in, you know, another piece of data into that warning decision.
Yeah, that's,
you know,
that's where I was kind of going. I mean, you know, so if you have, you're looking at the radar or some sort of radar derived product, and you say, you know, that looks like a monster. That looks like something I normally would warn on. And if you didn't have any additional information, you might warn on it, right? I mean, that's going to be the tendency. You know, it looks like yesterday's tornadic storm, so I would be a fool not to warn on this. But if you had an additional quasi-independent piece of information, like something in the environment that said, hold on, wait a minute, that environment is different than yesterday's storm, even though they kind of look like the same today. I mean, they look the same, but the storm environment's different. It's not as supportive. Therefore, I'm going to hold off for a moment or maybe not issue the warning. So to me, that's because you need, if you just take, for example, you know, new satellite signature information or lightning signatures or something like that of the storm is cranking away without, you know, any information about the environment, then you may get, you're getting maybe related or too related information, but something like the storm environment is kind of orthogonal, and it might be the best chance we have currently to sort of differentiate and get, you know, improve our skill.
You know, since we're talking about this, you know, one thing I have to put a plug in, you know, for us to really move forward in regard to knowing the environment, you know, right now, temporarily, we only get about once an hour. I have to put a plug in that we really got to make it a very high priority that we go to a higher temporal resolution. The forecasters, I mean, they need to have every 15 minutes. You know, we need to get there hopefully sooner than later. That type of information is really going to be very, very helpful for us to move forward with FARs and PODs, and another thing to talk about is lead times. So if I can put a plug for anything during this call, is higher temporal resolution.
We got it. Very sensible and urgent request indeed. We're about at the end of the hour. John, do we have any more questions? Or
No, we don't.
Anybody in the room? All right. If not, I want to thank again Dave Hotz and his team for an excellent presentation, and the one that I hope lots of folks in weather service, particularly those who have a lot of convection and we're coming up on, we're already into severe weather season, you know, get to see. And keep up the good work, guys. As a plug here, coming up in May, we're going to have Mike Pavlonis of Sims in Wisconsin give us a presentation on the Prop Severe, which is very related to the topic we're talking about. We're currently open for the June slot, so if you have any suggestions for something for June, please pass along to myself or John Chattel. And in July, we're going to hear from Chuck Grief on the Forecast Builder project, which is also being a hot topic for discussion, particularly with regards to the forecast process in the Weather Service and using the blend and that sort of thing. So without further ado, I thank everyone. And as I said, the recording of this will be uploaded to the VLab Forum website hopefully within the next hour, and you can share it with your friends and colleagues. So thanks, everyone, and we'll be signing off.